We're going to explore various topics in business and marketing through the lens of two truths and one myth, or something that isn't really true, but people commonly believe it is. And the first truth about influencer marketing, I think, that I really want to talk about today is that the marketplace is consolidating. And just this morning, IZEA announced, not surprising to me, that it was acquiring Tap Influence. I think it's a perfect marriage because IZEA has a great brand name, but its software services platform isn't that strong, at least in my opinion. And Tap has decent technology, but they've really struggled, I think, with profitability and with the size and quality of their network. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's I think there's a lot of these businesses that suffered through similar fates. Like Buddy Media comes to mind, and there tends to be a pattern in software worlds of like trying to create something not scalable and then try and make it scalable. And then the flip side also happens. You tend to have like sometimes agencies create big businesses and sort of manually put these pieces together and then try and like replace parts with more regimented software parts. And I think that the point you made is really powerful about things sort of like there's a good convergence or synergy sort of in them being able to bring like some software practices and scalability to the fore, but with the scale that IZEA actually has on the table already.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of consolidation already in this marketplace. Last year, Viacom acquired Who This now we have IZEA acquiring Tap Influence. There's tons and tons of little Instagram players, and some of them are no longer with us. And there's a lot of smaller players. But I also think there's going to be further consolidation because there's only so many platforms that can be supported in something like this, particularly, as you say, as a lot of the agencies and brands are creating their own little mini platforms and aren't actually using third parties.
And I find most things in the influencer space have a lot of duct tape sort of going on behind the scenes.
Well, I think that's actually the case probably with a lot of the older technologies, right? I mean, I've been a product marketer and a product developer, so I know there's a lot of duct tape in this world. And at some point, you either have to fix the duct tape or you have to buy somebody who built something better. And I think probably that's what happened this morning. Our other truth that we wanted to talk about today was that small audiences can be more effective than big ones. And I think this one is like the most self-evident truth to me. And thank goodness, I think influencer marketing is undergoing this shift from this hyper focus on celebrity. And you saw, Pernod's Malibu rum thing with celebrities and pineapples and all sorts of nonsense a couple of weeks ago. And we seem to be getting back to our roots as a way to activate customers as advocates. But there's a lot we still have to work out. And one of the things we've talked a lot about is the measurement is kind of one of the issues.
I almost feel like it's self-fulfilling, right? Like brands sort of did it to themselves. They overinvested, and they used the tool they knew how to use, right? Like when you're a brand, right? Like everything is reach, right? And yep. And as time has grown, like it's been gamed, like both from in and out, right? I think like as a result of that, we drove all the prices up for the celebrity and influencer side of the house as well, and that sort of leads to these new challenges of like, great, how do we bring back? How do we do this affordably again with the same level of like impact and ROI like that we were getting in the earlier days of this thing when it started?
I think reach is a delivery metric, and we sort of got hypnotized by scale and reach and bigger and more and more and more, and they forgot about things like performance and results and relationships and all those things that actually are what make influencer marketing work, because it's actually not the scale that makes it work, it's the relationship that makes it work. That's why I was like really heartened to see this week a case study on Clorox, which actually has done a really nice job of influencer marketing. I've worked with them in the past in my corporate roles, and they are using celebrities and experts and mid-tier and micro influencers, so they get it that it's not one or the other, and you don't just have to be sort of blinded by the celebrity light.
I think the other problem that you see is that authenticity really was like, I think, the transformative force, like sort of our most recent generation, right? Like social media has been done a good job of creating is like showing you other heroes, right? Like other people who are actually much closer to you, much more like you.
And
right?
That's why, sort of, again, it's a coordinated strategy, because influencers celebrity influencers are great for top of funnel, but as you start driving down, I don't see them being that effective. And so when people are saying, well, I use these big celebrities, but it didn't drive conversion, I look at them and I say, yeah. And did you expect it to drive conversion? Because that probably was never going to drive conversion, because celebrities don't.
We don't have a bottom of the funnel problem, right? Like a marketer gets a whiff of you anywhere, everywhere, they've got you, right? They're going to work you as far as they possibly can down to the bottom. The top of the funnel is actually a big part of the problem, because like what we're missing is attention, right? The reason is that the attention has actually been dissipated across thousands of micro channels that come in like these micro moments of like eating content here and there and on the go, right? But the closeness that we feel, you can't feel close to a brand, right? It's like really, really hard, right? Like like brands aren't actually organized and built in a way to really offer it at the scale that they need. And so what these what influencers and even celebrities that really do love these things, right? What they offer is a way to translate that relationship, right, in a more scalable way out to sort of everyone else that could potentially touch it.
Right. So often we don't actually build a conversion into the program. We don't build a call to action. We don't build a way for someone to actually buy the damn thing. Because they're like, I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
So it's there's a lot of issues with both finding the right audience and finding the right measurement and having both things working together, which is that influencer marketing is full of fraud. And I actually just want to say, no, it's not full of fraud. It's advertisers actually created the environment where we think that there is fraud, because we've prioritized scale over relationships and results. So reach in and of itself is not a result. And we've gotten confused about that and focused in on the reach of these influencers, and they reach 1 million people, and that's the result we're looking for. So as a result, and the reason that Unilever's Keith Weed said we're not going to buy programs from platforms or influencers who buy followers, is because influencers weren't held accountable. Agencies bought reach in order to say, look, we got the reach we were trying to get. And if you wanted to work on a program as an influencer, you needed to have lots of followers. So they bought followers. So we can't get too mad if we realize that we created the problem. So, I just say, make the effort to have a relationship with the people, and you'll know if their followers are real or not.
As long as you learn not to use the follower account, right? Then you the more you can insert a secondary motive, right? Like if it's like, great, ask an influencer, like how many clicks happened on those links, or how many people signed up, or how many people provided an email, or how many people bought this product. Like if you want to help yourself, start to ask those follow-up questions to the creators or influencers that you're working with, because then you can actually start to understand, like, who gives a crap? Like you could have 10 million followers, but like if it's the same 1,000 that always engage with you, then really what a brand just has to appreciate is that what you're really buying is access to those 1,000 people.
Right.
It's those people who are highly engaged that if we start to refocus on that and work upwards from it and grow that number, right, then everything moves in the right direction. Everything lines back up the way it needs.
I actually think that's a really important point, again, is that we may have 1 million people in our audience, but which portion of that audience is actually the right audience for that particular brand at that particular time? That micro influencer or that mid-tier influencer, depending on how you define it, I call them mid-tier, other people call them micro, is that they're the right one, and they're going to be a whole boatload cheaper for you to work with, and much more cost effective to work with than that celebrity. Sort of one of the main things I think about all the time is human-centered marketing, which is what influencer marketing really is or should be. It doesn't scale in the same way as media buys or advertising, traditional advertising, because human beings themselves don't. How do human beings scale? Get your scale from using that content in ads, or repurposing it, or boosting the posts that work well. There's lots of things we can do. So, if there is fraud in anything, that scale becomes so important and that's whether it's advertising or influencer fraud, right? Or anything. The minute scale becomes the thing, people have to figure out how to get more of it for less, and that's when you end up getting some fraud.
We love your comments and questions down below, and we promise to write them up and answer them at some point in the future.
Yes.